Well, it's Sunday morning, and wasn't able to work on the Vernon at all yesterday. Yesterday I played around with the old Earthmaster, called that one the Yelm Earthmaster tractor. So you might want to catch that video. That's probably not posted yet. That's probably going to end up posting after this video that I'm shooting today. Anyways, I was able to figure out, after the camera battery died the other night, I was able to figure out the conundrum of how to get this out. The trick is, on the other side of the slide here, this is where the nut that the cross feed screw goes through actually sits. And you can see this little pin here that keeps it from being able to twist or rotate. Well, when that nut is on here sticking down, which is right here, okay, so when this is on here like this, sits like that, obviously this is not going to be able to slide off of the top of the saddle, because that nut sits right in here and can't go any further than here before it hits this. And actually, it looks like it could probably have gone out the back, but for some reason I couldn't get it to go out the back. I'm not sure what I was missing there. But what ended up happening was, I'll see if I can turn this up to show you the bottom. Put this up on its side and saw that there's actually a hole right in the bottom of the saddle right here that's just the right size for that nut to fit through. So what you can do is, when you take that top screw out that I took out earlier, that releases the nut from the top slide there, then what you do is you pull the crossfeed shaft or the crossfeed screw out far enough so that it is no longer in the nut, and then you can get the nut to actually come out this hole. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to throw the nut and the top slide in the parts washer, and then I'm going to work on getting this crossfeed screw out completely. Alright, so I had some question as to which way this crossfeed screw had to be removed from the saddle, and I now have decided that it has to go out in this direction, because there's a groove here that a piece of key stock sits in that keys that gear to the shaft, and the groove comes shallow and ends right here. So if I try to move this shaft out in that direction, what's going to happen is that key is going to get to the end here and start to wedge up, and it's going to jam in there and definitely not want to come out. So it's got to go out. It's got to go out this way. And I had a problem where it was stopping when it got to a point here, but I think it's just stuck from dirt and everything getting in there. Looks like I'm going to give it a little mechanical assistance. I'm going to use this plastic headed mallet. It's coming, but I'm not going to rush it. Alright, slide the saddle over, because that gear is gonna drop out onto the floor. There we go. And so there's the gear, and you can see the key right in there. Alright, this might actually fit in the parts washer, just barely, or well enough so I can at least clean it and not have to deal with the mess out here. Well, it's later that evening, and the saddle has had enough time to dry. Came out pretty good. The paint was in really rough shape on this, and a lot of the paint came off with the cleaning. So, oh well. But other than just like a couple of nooks and crannies I could see here that I missed, for the most part, it cleaned up pretty well. The the rust that was on the ways, the surface rust, all I did to take care of that was while I had it in the parts cleaner, I used a Scotch-Brite pad and rubbed that with a Scotch-Brite pad, and it cleaned up really well. So I'm satisfied with this at this point right here. It's not spotless, but it is clean. And then the underside here, actually still a little wet here and there with parts cleaner, but light is coming from the other side there, so you probably can't even see this really on video, but the bearing surfaces here look really good. So I think actually, to make my life easier, I might just put this right over on the bed and reassemble this on the bed, because right now it's heavy, but I can lift it. Well, I figured out how to get this back gear assembly off. Apparently, you got to take the handle off. I had taken this grub screw out, pretty good size one, and I'd taken the small one out this opposite end here, and that didn't seem to do anything for me yet. And then I realized the handle had to come off, and this screw was kind of camming out on me pretty bad. It was really tight, so I ended up having to put the propane torch to it and get it pretty hot before I could break it free. And I took that screw out, and it's no wonder now it's an actually pretty long grub screw. Once I did that, now I was able to just tap on this, and this actually started coming out the other end. There's a little dimple in the end of the shaft there. And I got this tiny hammer. Let me get a better drift. Seems to be stopping when it gets to this point. It slid out and it stopped dead. Well, I can see this end is really thick, so there's no way that that's going to be able to go out this way, because this center part here has the shaft going through it, smaller in diameter. If I pull this out, it's making that go back in. That's a hidden screw. Oh. Okay, that's interesting. Remember I was talking about how this was popping out of gear, and I was wondering how this mechanism would work. Well, it appears, see, this big grub screw is the one that I took out of here. That point on that screw, apparently when this is in whichever position you want it to be in, you tighten this screw, and that is what keeps it locked. Huh. And that sits in these little detents right here. There's one there and there's one there. That doesn't currently tell me why this isn't coming out. Alright, if I put the punch back on here and hammer, then that's going to just want to come out that end. So maybe I should try a puller on here. The puller idea might work if I get a spacer in there. Too short. Alright, that's ought to do it this time. That's it. Now that I got that handle off that end, this will probably push up this way. Yep. And I gotta support this gear assembly.
spoke too soon. I bet you I gotta take the key stock out first. There we go.
There's this key stock that's sticking out, or is that a Woodruff key? Whatever it is. It's either a Woodruff key or a piece of key stock. And the shaft here is what's going to keep that from being able to slide out the other end. See, if it's a Woodruff key and it's got that half moon shape, then usually you can tap on one side and get the other side to pop up. It doesn't seem to be working. Get some vice grips on it. Usually if you wiggle it, get it rocking just a tiny bit. That's a good sign. Doesn't seem to be working. Ah, there we go. Hey, it is a Woodruff key. Got that little half moon shape. Now this shaft should go out the other way. Oop. And of course I want to support the bull gear, because it's going to drop out as soon as this shaft is out, like that. Voila! It's going to be a lot easier to clean that in the parts cleaner with it out. And also, I'm going to be able to get to all of this inside here and clean this. Battery's dying. Sunday night. I guess I'll call it quits.